All right, let's strip it down. No sugar, no soft landing, just the truth, as raw as it gets. This isn't a comfort zone. It's your wake-up call. If you've been waiting for a sign to see things clearly, this is it. And yes, it's going to sting. But here's the thing. Truth has a way of cutting through the lies you've been telling yourself. Let's stop pretending, stop hoping, and start facing reality. Remember those moments when you stared at your phone, waiting for a reply that never came? The hours that turned into days, the anxiety creeping in as you replayed every conversation in your head, wondering what you did wrong? That silence wasn't random. It was intentional. They weren't too busy or caught up in life. They made a choice, and that choice was to leave you waiting, to show you where you stand in their life, on the sidelines. Here's the hard truth. You're afraid they'll forget you, that they'll move on, and you'll just fade into the background of their memory. But let's be brutally honest. They didn't forget you. They chose to live without you. Think about that while you're sitting here hoping. They've already decided you're not a priority. They've moved on, not because they're wearing some emotional mask, but because you weren't a part of their plan in the first place. You think silence is your weapon, that if you stay quiet, they'll notice the void you left, that they'll feel your absence like a weight in their chest. But that's not how it works. Silence isn't a magic spell that forces someone to realize your worth. Silence only echoes when there's something in their heart to resonate with. And if you're still holding on, it's time to admit they don't feel the same. Not a spark, not a shred. Let's paint a picture for you. Imagine gripping a rope with all your strength. The other person has let go of their end, but you're still holding on, pulling, bleeding, straining. For what? For someone who isn't even in the fight anymore. Now imagine what happens when you let go. The tension disappears. The pain stops. That's what silence should be, a release, not a manipulation tool. Marcus Aurelius said it best, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Your silence isn't for them, it's for you. It's your space to heal, to rediscover the version of yourself that didn't need someone else's validation to feel whole. You don't need their attention to matter, you need your own. Stop hoping they'll notice what you've lost. Start noticing what you have. Silence, when used right, is your shield. It's not about them. It's about protecting your dignity, your peace, and your worth. Because here's what's real. They've shown you who they are. They've shown you that you're an option, not a priority. And now it's time for you to show them something too. That you're no one's backup plan. This isn't about winning them back. It's about reclaiming your power. It's about letting go of the version of you that begged for scraps of love and attention. Stop being someone they can pick up and drop whenever it's convenient. That's not who you are anymore. You're done waiting, done hoping, and done sacrificing your worth. So here's your declaration. Say it out loud. I'm done. Not just words, but a promise to yourself. Drop it in the comments below. Let the world and yourself know that you've made the decision to move forward. This is your moment to wake up. Feel that surge of strength. That's your future calling, and it's waiting for you to rise. And here's the hard-hitting call to action. Hit that like button if you're done settling for less. Subscribe to this channel, turn on the bell icon, and join this community of powerful individuals taking their lives back. Don't keep this truth to yourself. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Be the reason they find their strength today. Now, here's the magic I promised. Stay until the end of this journey because I'm about to reveal something that will completely shift the way you think about silence and its power. Stop pouring your soul into empty spaces. Let's talk about why you're stuck, why you feel drained, and why nothing ever seems to grow from all the love and energy you've been giving. You've been pouring yourself into something that's already gone. You've been holding on to something lifeless, hoping it will somehow spring back to life. But here's the unfiltered truth. You can't bring something back that was never meant to last. You're standing in an empty field, holding a watering can filled with hope. But no matter how much you pour, nothing will bloom. Why? Because the roots were already rotten. You can't save what's already dead. Think about it like this. If you put a flower in a cracked vase, it might look beautiful for a moment, but no matter how much water you add, the cracks will keep draining everything you give. That's exactly what it feels like when you invest in someone who doesn't care. Someone who only takes and never gives. Someone who watches as you pour your heart out but offers nothing in return. At this point, you might be asking yourself, but what if they change? What if I just hold on a little longer? The answer is simple. They won't. Change isn't something you can force out of someone. People don't grow because you love them harder. They grow because they choose to. Your love can't fix someone who isn't willing to heal themselves, and it's not your job to be the gardener for someone else's neglected soul. You're holding on to potential, an illusion of what they could be, rather than accepting who they've already shown you they are. Detached, careless, indifferent. It's like clutching onto autumn leaves, hoping they'll turn green again. But just like the trees in autumn, you have to let go. The tree doesn't fight to hold on to what's dying. It lets go, trusting that spring will bring new life. You need to do the same. It's time to stop chasing love that requires begging. Stop waiting for someone to wake up and realize your worth. If they couldn't see it when you gave them your best, they never will. Love isn't earned through suffering. It's not something you chase. It's shared freely, willingly, and mutually. As Maya Angelou said, never make someone a priority when all you are to them is an option. If they've made you feel like you're too hard to love, like you need to prove yourself to be chosen, let that pain be your teacher. Rumi once said, "Don't get lost in your pain. Know that one day your pain will become your cure." The hurt you feel right now isn't the end. It's the beginning of your spring. But your hands have to be free to catch what's coming. You can't receive new growth while you're clinging to dead branches. At this point, you might wonder, but what if I walk away and they realize they need me? If that's what it takes for them to notice you, then you already know their value doesn't match yours. You shouldn't have to leave for someone to see your worth. You deserve someone who chooses you every single day, not someone who only notices your absence. Let go of the barren garden. Stop pouring your love into something that will never bloom back. Walk away not because you're bitter, but because you're choosing to save your energy for something that can grow. Let your silence be your strength, not a cry for attention. When you walk away without looking back, you're not giving up, you're rising. And here's the truth. They'll come to realize too late that you weren't just watering a dead plant. You were the sunlight, the rain, and the soil. You were the one who could have made everything grow. When you leave, they lose the best part of their world. But by the time they realize it, you'll have already planted your roots somewhere else, somewhere that nurtures you, sees you, and values you for everything you are. It's time to stop watering dead plants. Start watering yourself instead. Why don't they feel your absence? Picture yourself standing on the shore, throwing messages in bottles into a vast ocean. Every bottle holds your hopes, your love, and your longing, sent out with the desperate belief that someone out there will find it, cherish it, and send something back. But here's the truth you've been avoiding. They were never on the other side. They weren't waiting, searching, or hoping like you were. You've been tossing bottles into an empty sea, one that doesn't care whether you exist or not. That's the real reason they don't miss you. It's not because you weren't good enough. It's not because you didn't love them the right way. It's because they never valued you in the first place. You were invested, but they were just passing through. They took what they needed from you and left without a second thought. No looking back, no checking to see if you were okay, no regrets. You were never part of their future, and that's the hardest pill to swallow, isn't it? You thought your love built something that would last. You believed your presence was unforgettable. But the truth is, to them, you were just convenient. You filled the gaps in their life until something else came along. People don't miss what they take for granted. They don't miss what they assume will always be there. They only miss something when it's rare, when it's irreplaceable, and to them, you were neither. They didn't see your worth because they weren't looking for it. They weren't looking for someone to cherish. They were looking for someone to use. Let that sink in. Stop lying to yourself that your silence is causing some deep ache in their soul. Stop imagining them lying awake at night, haunted by memories of you. They're not. They've moved on, living as if you were never part of their story. And here's why. They never emotionally invested. You did. You built castles in your mind, thinking this was real, while they were only visiting for a moment. You were playing for keeps, but they were just playing. Love isn't about effort alone. You can give everything, your time, your patience, your loyalty. But if the other person doesn't care, none of it will ever matter. You could have been perfect, but perfection means nothing to someone who doesn't value love in the first place. As Epictetus wisely said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. And right now, you've been reacting by holding on, by waiting, by hoping they'll miss you. But hope won't change their indifference. Here's the truth. They'll only miss you when life humbles them, when their next shallow connection fails, when fleeting attention no longer fills the void. That's when they'll realize that genuine love, loyalty, and care don't come around every day. But by then, it won't matter because you'll be gone. And when they finally look back, they'll see that you were the one they let slip away. But their regret won't fix the past. Their missing you won't erase the nights you spent crying or the love you gave that they never returned. So, what's next for you? You let it burn. Burn the idea that your love was wasted. It wasn't because you learned. Burn the hope that they'll ever wake up and see your worth. You rise instead. Burn the fantasy that their absence is a wound you need them to heal. You heal yourself. Stop throwing bottles into an empty sea. Stop holding space in your heart for someone who's already forgotten they left. Their regret isn't your reward. Their missing you won't restore what's gone. What matters now is that you reclaim the love and care you gave so freely and direct it toward the person who deserves it most. You walk away not to make them miss you, but to set yourself free. The love you've been waiting for isn't behind you. It's waiting in the version of yourself you're about to become. Let today be the day you stop hoping for their recognition and start living in your truth. You are rare. You are irreplaceable. It's time you treated yourself like it. Your greatest weapon for freedom. Let's break apart the illusions you've been living in. Silence isn't about them. It never was. You've been sold the idea that your silence will make them miss you, regret losing you, or finally see your worth. It's a lie, a fantasy society dressed up and handed to you as some magical strategy. But here's the truth. Silence doesn't create a void in their life. It creates power in yours. Silence isn't a weapon to manipulate their emotions. It's a wrecking ball that smashes the illusions you've clung to. The false hope, the endless waiting, the desperate longing for someone to notice you. All of it comes crumbling down. Your silence isn't for them to feel your absence. It's for you to face the truth that you were worth more than standing in the shadows, waiting for someone to care. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." And let's be honest, your thoughts have been painted with desperation and false hope for far too long. Silence strips all of that away, leaving you with something terrifying but beautiful: yourself. At first, silence feels like loss, doesn't it? Like you're vanishing from their world, as if being forgotten means you're nothing. But here's the shift you need to make. Silence isn't an eraser, it's rebirth. Silence is the space where you stop begging for answers they'll never give and start answering yourself. It's where you confront the hard truth. Your worth never depended on them seeing it. Being loved by them wasn't the reward. You are the reward. They just never deserved it. Think about this. After a storm passes, the sky clears, the air sharpens, and everything feels alive again. That's what silence can do for you. It clears the emotional fog, sharpens your perspective, and brings you back to yourself, but only if you let it. Stop using silence as bait. It's not a trap to lure them back, it's a mirror. Use it to look at yourself. Look at what you tolerated, what you gave, and what you lost chasing someone who couldn't even bother to stay. Face it, own it, change it, because silence doesn't create longing in them, it creates strength in you. Every day you stay silent, you reclaim a piece of yourself you thought you lost. Every unanswered message is a step closer to freedom. Every moment you don't break, you become stronger than the version of you who thought love meant chasing and settling for crumbs. Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things beyond our control." They were always beyond your control, but you aren't. You get to decide how much more space they take up in your mind. You get to choose how much more of your life you let them steal. Silence creates freedom, but only if you let it. Silence also creates self-respect. Every moment you hold your silence, you're making a powerful statement. I refuse to chase someone who doesn't value me. You're proving to yourself that you're enough, without their validation, attention, or approval. And here's the irony: they will notice, not because you played some clever game, but because you'll become the one thing they never expected, someone who moved on. By the time they realize it, though, you won't care. They'll be looking for the old version of you, the one who waited, who hoped, who broke. But that version of you doesn't exist anymore. Silence has already built someone stronger, someone untouchable. So stop fearing silence. Stop seeing it as punishment. Silence is your transformation. It's the bridge from who you were to who you're meant to be. Let it take you where you need to go, not for them, but for you. Because when you choose silence, you're choosing yourself, and that's a choice that changes everything. Build your power, not your expectations. Imagine standing at the edge of a cliff, staring at the horizon, waiting for a bridge to magically appear. You convince yourself that if you wait long enough, hope hard enough, that bridge will show up and carry you across. But here's the truth: you'll be waiting forever. That's what living with expectations feels like. It's a gamble on something you can't control, leaving you stranded in the rubble of disappointment when reality doesn't meet the fantasy you created. You expected them to care, to show up, to see your worth, and to love you back with the same intensity you gave. But the harsh truth is this: expectations are nothing more than premeditated heartbreak. The higher you build them, the harder you fall. And when they fail to meet those expectations, it feels personal, like an attack on your value. But it's not. It's not about your worth. It's about who they are. They're not capable of meeting you where you deserve to be met. So stop building expectations. Start building something no one can take away: your empire. An empire where you are in control, where your happiness doesn't hinge on someone else's approval or actions. As Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. The only thing you can control is yourself, your actions, your reactions, and the energy you give. Think of it like this: Expecting someone else to fix your broken pieces is like standing in a drought, praying for rain. Futile, soul-crushing. Building an empire is different. It's becoming so rooted in your own self-worth that even if people leave, even if life shakes you to your core, you remain standing. It's about creating a foundation inside yourself so solid that no one can ever make you question your worth again. You might be wondering, but what about closure? What about the apology I never got? The answer is simple. Stop waiting for it. Waiting is passive. Building is active. You don't wait for a throne. You construct one brick by brick. Every goal you set becomes the foundation. Your mindset becomes the fortress. Your resilience is the crown no one can ever take. Think about the people you admire. Did they build their lives by hoping someone would save them? No, they worked, they grew, and they became unstoppable. Hope alone won't build anything. Action will. So stop expecting someone else to see your potential. See it yourself. Stop hoping for them to regret losing you. Make them irrelevant. Build a life so full, so purposeful, that even your past self wouldn't recognize you. When you stop living for external validation, you take control. Invest in yourself. Feed your mind. Expand your skills. Grow so much that their recognition doesn't even matter anymore. As Epictetus wisely said, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Stop wanting people to act right. Stop wanting closure. Stop wanting someone to complete you. Complete yourself. Imagine you're standing on a beach, building sandcastles in someone else's world, only to watch the tide of their indifference wash it all away. That's what expectations do. They crumble under the weight of someone's inconsistency. But building an empire, that's permanent, that's unshakable. When they see you again, they won't recognize the person who waited, begged, or cried. They'll see someone untouchable, a ruler of their own life. Let them realize they can't reach you anymore. Not because you played games or held grudges, but because you've risen so high they no longer matter. Build something unshakable. Build your empire, not for them, but for you. When they miss you, it's not love, it's loss of control. When they finally notice you're gone, don't let it fool you. It's not love, it's not regret. It's not some heartfelt realization that you mattered all along. No, it's something far less noble. They don't miss you. They miss what you did for them. You were their safety net, their guaranteed source of validation, attention, and comfort. And now that you're gone, the ease and convenience you provided have vanished too. Think about it like this. They treated you like an old, forgotten jacket, tossed aside, wrinkled, neglected. They didn't care when it was just lying there, but now, when they're cold and uncomfortable, they're frantically searching for that jacket, not because they love it, but because it made their life easier. That's how they feel about you. It's not love, it's emptiness. Their life hasn't fallen apart because you're no longer in it. It's just become less convenient. You were the backup plan, the emotional crutch, the person they could always count on to be there, no matter how poorly they treated you. And now they're not hurting because they lost you. They're panicking because they lost the control they thought they'd always have. As Epictetus said, we suffer not from the events in our lives, but from our judgments about them. They're not grieving your absence, they're grieving the comfort they assumed would never go away. They believed you'd always be there, waiting, reliable, and easy to reach. But now, you've removed yourself from the equation, and the reality they built around you has crumbled. At this point, you might ask yourself, but what if they really mean it this time? What if they've changed? The answer is simple. People who care don't gamble with your heart. They don't watch you break and do nothing. They don't ignore your calls, dismiss your efforts, or make you feel like you're too much while you're giving them your best. If they truly cared, they wouldn't have waited until you left to start noticing your value. Here's the truth. They notice you're gone because your silence has created something they can't stand: emptiness. They lost their emotional safety net, the person who cared about them even when they didn't deserve it. But here's the twist. They haven't changed. They're not coming back because they've had some life-altering realization. They're coming back because you changed. The version of you who begged, waited, and hoped is gone. The person they thought they could manipulate and string along no longer exists. Rumi said it best: don't get lost in your pain. Know that one day your pain will become your cure. Your absence isn't a wound for them to heal, it's their wake-up call. But their regret isn't your responsibility. Their emptiness isn't your burden to carry. Their sudden desire to reach out is meaningless. You've done the hard work. You've faced the silence, broken through the pain, and rebuilt yourself into someone they can't reach. When they come back, tossing out casual messages like fishing lines hoping to reel you in, see it for what it is: a desperate attempt to regain control. They don't miss you. They miss who you used to be. But that person doesn't exist anymore. Let them notice you're gone. Let them sit with the void they created when they treated you like you were disposable. Let them wrestle with regret while you thrive. This is not your burden to fix, and it never was. You've risen above their games, their breadcrumbs, and their false promises. Say it to yourself and mean it. I'm never going back, not because you're bitter or angry, but because you've finally seen the truth. When they notice you're gone, it's already too late. You've moved on, and the life you're building doesn't have room for people who only care when it's convenient. Become the force they never saw coming. Enough with the waiting. Enough with hoping they'll notice you, miss you, or come crawling back. That version of you, the one who quietly waited in the shadows of their indifference, is gone. It's time to stop being the soft breeze they ignored and become the storm they never saw coming, not for them, but for yourself. Because the best revenge isn't making them regret losing you, it's making the old version of you completely unrecognizable. They thought you'd fade away, that you'd shrink to fit into the small space they allowed for you in their world. They thought you'd keep waiting forever. But storms don't wait. They gather strength, they build momentum, and then they strike. As Nietzsche said, that which does not kill us makes us stronger. Every tear you cried, every night you spent begging for a different ending, every time you questioned your worth, those weren't moments of weakness. Those were your storm clouds gathering. You weren't breaking, you were building. Now it's time to unleash everything you've been holding back. Stop chasing, stop waiting, stop explaining. Your silence wasn't just a pause, it was the calm before the storm. And now that calm is over. The world is full of people like them, users, takers, manipulators. But it's also full of opportunity, power, and purpose. Which side are you going to stand on? The side that crumbles under the weight of rejection, or the side that rises above it? The choice is yours. Be relentless. Build yourself into someone who doesn't need validation. Chase your goals with the same intensity you once chased their attention. Take everything they thought they destroyed and rebuild it, stronger, better, untouchable. They expect you to stay broken. They expect you to stay quiet. They expect you to be waiting by the phone, still hoping, still hurting. Prove them wrong, not with words, not with emotional texts or social media posts, but with your actions. Build a life so powerful, so unshakable, that even if they tried to come back, they'd find no place in it. As Marcus Aurelius said, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. Don't become bitter, become better. Don't waste your energy trying to make them see what they lost. Instead, turn that energy inward. Build a life so full of purpose, growth, and success that their regret becomes irrelevant. Your happiness, your resilience, and your unstoppable momentum are the thunderclaps they'll hear long after you've moved on. Storms don't apologize for their strength. They don't apologize for shaking things up, for demanding change, for being fierce. Neither should you. You're not here to be liked, you're here to thrive. They underestimated you. They thought you'd break under the weight of their indifference. But now they'll see they can't weather the storm you've become. And let's be clear, they'll notice. Not because you're trying to make them notice, but because the version of you they once knew no longer exists. You're done being the person they overlooked. You're done seeking validation, begging for attention, or hoping for recognition. You've risen far beyond their reach, and by the time they realize it, it'll be too late. As Rumi said, "Don't get lost in your pain. Know that one day your pain will become your cure. That day is now. Your pain has transformed you into a force of nature, stronger, wiser, untouchable. So rise, build, and conquer, not for revenge, not for validation, but for yourself. You are the storm, and no one, not them, not anyone, can weather the power of who you've become. Rise with unstoppable strength. Here you are, standing in the aftermath of the storm you survived. You've faced the truth, endured the silence, burned the bridges, and shattered the chains that kept you anchored to the past. But let's not sugarcoat this. This isn't the end of the road, it's the beginning. Breaking free was just the first step. Staying free, moving forward, and building a life so strong it's untouchable. That's the real challenge. Strength isn't just a flash of defiance when you're fired up. It's not a single moment where you feel unstoppable. Strength is built in the quiet, unrelenting consistency of showing up for yourself every single day. It's found in the moments when it would be so much easier to fall back into old habits, to pick up the phone, or to let comfort tempt you into staying where you've always been. Comfort is a liar. It whispers to you, maybe it wasn't so bad. Maybe they'll change. Maybe you should try again. But comfort is scared of the unknown. Strength, though, strength thrives in the unknown. It lives in the messy, uncertain, uncomfortable process of rebuilding yourself. As Epictetus said, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. So ask yourself, who are you going to be? The person who collapses under resistance, or the one who rises unshaken no matter what life throws their way? Unshakable strength isn't handed to you, it's earned. It's earned every time you choose growth over comfort, every time you choose action over waiting, every time you take a step forward, even when the weight of your past tries to pull you back. Every no to what no longer serves you, every boundary you enforce, every time you choose yourself over what broke you, you're building. But let's be real, you can't move forward while carrying the weight of your past, the need for closure, for apologies, for explanations, dead weight. You don't need to know why they did what they did. You don't need their validation to let go. As Rumi said, try not to resist the changes that come your way. How do you know that the side you're used to is better than the one to come? Let that sink in. What if the life you've been dreaming of is waiting on the other side of everything you're afraid to let go of? What if holding on to the broken pieces is the only thing standing in the way of the person you're meant to become? You might be thinking, but I'm not strong enough. I still feel broken. Let me tell you this. Strength isn't about never breaking, it's about refusing to stay broken. Every heartbreak, every setback, every moment that felt like the end of you, it wasn't the end, it was the forge. It sharpened your edges, hardened your resolve, and prepared you for this moment. You're not a victim of your past, you're a product of your own resilience. Marcus Aurelius put it simply, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Life will test you, Storms will come. People will disappoint you. But here's the truth. They don't define you. Your mind, your choices, and your ability to rise again, that's where your true power lies. Yes, there will be days when doubt creeps in, when the urge to retreat into what's familiar feels overwhelming. But those are the moments when real strength is built. Not when things are easy, but when you keep moving forward anyway. Every time you refuse to settle, every time you choose yourself, you're proving that you are unstoppable. Stop waiting for permission to create the life you want. No one's going to hand it to you. You have to claim it. You've survived storms that would have broken others. You've endured pain that should have left you shattered. And here you are, stronger than ever. Stop asking for greatness. Start owning it. Because this isn't just about moving forward. It's about rising into everything you were meant to be. You are unstoppable. Believe it, be it, live it. Unleash the strength they never expected. You've walked through the fire, endured the pain, and faced every storm life threw at you. And you're still here. But this isn't where you stop. This is where you take everything you've learned and unleash a version of yourself they never saw coming. The world won't hand you the life you deserve. You have to build it, brick by brick, step by step, with the strength you forged in silence and struggle. The past doesn't define you. The pain doesn't control you. The doubt no longer owns you. You've earned this moment. You've earned the right to stand tall and take what's yours. So let this be your declaration. No more waiting, no more holding back. Start now. Build your empire. Chase your goals. Protect your peace. And rise so high that the only thing they'll recognize about you is the storm you've become. Now's your move. Take action today. Share this message with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and turn on the bell icon to stay connected to the growth you deserve. And one last thing, drop your declaration below. Write, "I am unbeatable," as a promise to yourself and the world. This is your moment. Own it. Let's rise together.